In the early 80s, Kurzanov described a little short-armed, long-legged bird-like theropod from the late Cretaceous of Mongolia, and noticed that its arms, which were incomplete, were extremely bird-like in some respects. So the aptly named Avimimus was placed as a more derived animal than Archaeopteryx. He considered them fleet-footed endotherms with both feathery insulation and flight feathers, even though, because of the tiny arms, he considered them secondarily flightless, except maybe in chicken-like bursts. There was no tail yet found, but Kurzanov predicted that it would be very short, with a bird-like tail fan. Other workers disagreed. They argued that the hip and the hind limb clearly worked the way that other theropods had, which meant that they would require a much longer tail than modern birds have. Sibik painted them as sort of in between Coelophysis and Archaeopteryx, with diamond-shaped fringes of rectrices and a mostly scaly body. Paul drew almost the opposite, a Hoatzin emu with a naked tail, feathered body, and very scrawny folded wings. I'm fascinated by this contrast. The primary flightlessness advocate has a classic dinosaur with a long, low, heavy, croc-like build, whereas the secondarily flightless advocate shows a much more modern-looking dinosaur with its round, alert, light, and bird-like build. We now place Avimimus and its relatives in oviraptorosauria, so further from birds than Archaeopteryx is. But we saw an interesting resolution to the tail question. The tail is short in Avimimus and in all oviraptorosaurs, but not as short as in birds with rump rods. But at least 3 oviraptorosaurs have the last few vertebrae at the tips of their tails fused together into a pygostyle. Those are the same vertebrae which anchor the eponymous tail feathers of Caudipteryx. So Kurzanov is partially vindicated. They did have a bird-like tail fan. There's just a lot more tail than he expected.